Title: Please Save My Father, the boy Heir said to the street kid. Until it happened, the rain came down like broken glass, slicing through the night air as a small boy in a torn hoodie knelt beside a half-empty trash bin, his hands trembling from cold and hunger. He was barely 12, with dirt smudged across his cheeks and eyes too old for his years. His name was Eli, a child of the streets, invisible to the glittering world around him. Yet, tonight, destiny had decided he would no longer be unseen. A few blocks away, in the heart of the city's wealthiest district, a mansion gate burst open, and a young boy in a silk shirt and trembling voice screamed into the storm, "Please, someone, please save my father." The world outside didn't stop for either of them. But fate, silent and strange, was about to make their worlds collide. If you believe that kindness, compassion, and second chances can still change lives, please like this video, subscribe, and share this story to remind others that humanity still exists. Eli had been scavenging for leftover food outside a closed restaurant when he heard the desperate cries. He froze for a moment, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him again. The city's echoes often mimicked pain, and he had learned not to listen. But this cry was different, raw, pleading, trembling with fear. He followed the sound through puddles and alleys until he saw a boy no older than him, kneeling beside a black car, his expensive clothes soaked and his face twisted with terror. Lying beside the boy was a man, middle-aged, gasping, his lips turning pale. The boy, Adrian, pressed his tiny hands against the man's chest, whispering, "Please, Dad, don't go, please." Eli stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. His instincts told him to stay away, people like them never noticed people like him. But something inside tugged at his chest, something that refused to let him walk away. He ran toward them. "What happened?" he asked, his voice rough from disuse. Adrian looked up, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "My father, he's not breathing. The car, he just fell, please, help me." Eli knelt beside the man and saw that his lips were turning blue. His own heart raced. He remembered the time his mother had collapsed from exhaustion when he was little. He had watched a nurse on TV once doing chest compressions. He wasn't sure if it would work, but he placed his hands on the man's chest and started pressing, hard, steady, desperate. Adrian cried beside him, holding his father's hand, whispering prayers between sobs. Minutes passed like hours until suddenly the man coughed, gasped, and his eyes fluttered open. The relief that washed over Adrian was so overwhelming that he threw his arms around Eli, crying uncontrollably. Eli just sat there, soaked, trembling, unsure how to respond. Sirens soon blared in the distance, and people began rushing out of the mansion. Within moments, men in suits and a frantic woman appeared, shouting for help. They pulled Adrian and his father away, wrapping them in blankets. No one noticed Eli standing there, shivering, his heart still pounding. He turned to leave quietly, disappearing back into the shadows he knew best, but fate was not finished with him yet. 2 days later, Eli was back under the bridge where he slept. He hadn't eaten since that night. He thought about the boy with soft hands and pleading eyes, and the father who'd been saved. He told himself it didn't matter. People like them forgot people like him the moment the danger passed. But that night, something unexpected happened. A sleek car stopped by the edge of the bridge, and 2 men stepped out, holding a flashlight. Eli panicked, ready to run, but then he saw the boy, Adrian. His eyes lit up when he saw Eli. "That's him!" Adrian shouted, running toward him with a big smile. "That's the boy who saved my father." Eli blinked, confused. The men weren't here to chase him away. Adrian took his hand, pulling him gently toward the car. Inside sat Adrian's father, alive, bandaged, and pale but smiling warmly. "You're the reason I'm still breathing, son," he said softly. "I owe you more than I can repay." Eli just stood there, unsure what to say. "I didn't do it for anything," he mumbled, looking down. But the man shook his head. "You did it because you have a heart." And that's everything. That night, for the first time in years, Eli slept in a warm bed. Adrian's family insisted he stay with them for a while. At first, Eli couldn't understand why. He didn't belong among marble floors and golden chandeliers. He didn't know how to eat with a fork properly, how to greet servants, or how to talk without feeling small. But Adrian didn't care about any of that. He would sneak into Eli's room at night and tell him stories about his school, his dreams, his father's company, and how lonely his big house had been before Eli came. Slowly, the distance between the heir and the street kid began to fade, but not everyone was happy. The servants whispered. The relatives frowned. That boy doesn't belong here, one of Adrian's uncles said. He's a street rat, what will people say? Even Adrian's father, as kind as he was, started facing pressure from family and business associates. Eli overheard conversations late at night, words like charity case, bad influence, and embarrassment. It cut deep, but he stayed silent. He didn't want to ruin the only good thing he'd ever had. One morning, while Adrian was at school, a man in a suit came to Eli's room. Your stay here is over, he said coldly. Mr. Lawson thinks it's best if you leave quietly. Eli's chest tightened. Did I do something wrong? The man didn't answer. Within an hour, Eli was back on the street, his old torn hoodie pulled tight against the cold wind. He looked back once at the mansion gates, but they didn't open this time. Days turned into weeks. Eli tried to survive as he had before, but now the hunger hurt more, the loneliness cut deeper. Once you taste warmth, the cold feels crueler. He missed Adrian's laughter. He missed the kindness in Mr. Lawson's eyes. But life on the streets didn't stop for broken hearts. Then, one evening, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A black SUV screeched to a stop near the corner market, and two masked men dragged someone out of a car. Eli recognized the face instantly. It was Mr. Lawson. He'd been ambushed. People screamed and ran, but Eli didn't move. Without thinking, he darted forward, following the kidnappers as they shoved Lawson into another car and drove toward the docks. Eli knew the city's shadows better than anyone. He cut through alleys and climbed fences, tracking the car to an abandoned warehouse. He crouched behind barrels, heart pounding, as he heard the men arguing about ransom. He saw Mr. Lawson tied to a chair, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. Eli wanted to run for help, but there was no time. The men were getting ready to leave with him. Something inside Eli snapped. He picked up a broken pipe from the ground, sneaked in through a back door, and threw a rock at the wall. The noise made one of the kidnappers turn. Eli ran, shouting to draw them away. Over here, he screamed. The men chased him, furious, leaving Lawson momentarily alone. Eli ducked behind crates, heart hammering, but he slipped, and one of the men grabbed him. You little rat, the man shouted, raising his fist. Just as police sirens wailed outside, Eli had bought enough time. The cops stormed in, rescuing Lawson and arresting the kidnappers. When the chaos settled, Mr. Lawson saw Eli, bruised and bleeding, lying on the ground. He ran to him, tears in his eyes. Why, son? Why would you risk your life for me again? Eli smiled weakly. Because you once called me son, sir. No one ever did before. Mr. Lawson broke down, holding him tight. When Adrian arrived minutes later and saw Eli in his father's arms, he started crying too. I told them you weren't gone, he shouted, hugging Eli like a brother. That day, under the flashing lights and sirens, two boys from different worlds found each other again, and this time, nothing would separate them. Lawson took legal steps to make Eli part of their family, adopting him officially. The story made headlines. Street kid saves billionaire twice. But behind the fame, what mattered most was what grew between them: love, loyalty, and gratitude. Eli never forgot where he came from, and Adrian never forgot who saved his father and their family when it mattered most.